The clerk will note that all trustees are accounted and present. And we will move on to chair's remarks, of which I have none today. So we'll move to item 4, where we'll consider approving the minutes from the HRA board meeting of September 27th of 2022. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
I have a motion by trustee Look. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by trustee Gamache. Further discussion? Seeing no discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? The minutes have been adopted. Next, item 5, we'll consider approving the following lease agreements and authorize the HRA board chair and executive director to execute such lease agreements. All businesses are located within the Anoka Law Center building and will continue to provide rent revenue. Those are before you. There are 3 of them: a contract with Alexandra House, one with Central Minnesota Legal Services, and one with Hicken, Scott, Howard, and Anderson, PA. You've seen the worksheets you have before you. Essentially, Alexandra House will be cutting their space considerably and splitting it with Central Minnesota Legal Services, if I understand correctly. Karen, is there anything else we need to know about this, or Corey?
Mr. Chair, Corey's here, and he's been working with all of the leasees, so we'll let him speak.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Board members, my name is Corey Kampf. I'm the CFO for Anoka County. In this building, the way this is happening is that Alexandra House desired to shrink their space, and Central Minnesota Legal wanted to share space with them, and they're leaving their legal advocacy people there. So they have come to an agreement, and so we are sharing space, and they each have their own lease. The part of the first floor that they're vacating, we are actually going to move Hicken down to from the 3rd floor, which then frees up the 3rd floor because our current tenant on the 3rd floor wants the whole floor. And so we'll be working on a lease to expand them, and that's coming in the near future. So that's kind of the plan.
Very good. I'm looking for a motion to approve the 3 leases.
So moved.
I have a motion by trustee Brasted. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by trustee West. Are there further questions or comments? Trustee Meisner.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, just a question about the partnership then with Alexandra House and Central Legal. So that it's one, both names are on that one lease then, or is it, okay. So 2 separate leases, but the same space.
They're sharing space. Yes,
Okay.
we have a breakdown in the space that has been shared, about who pays for what, and they both have agreed to what that breakdown was. And it's very similar. They're
Right.
only a few feet off from each other, but it's, based on the services that they're planning to provide there.
And then follow-up question?
Please.
And then 2, I assume then with this arrangement, right, so either entity then has flexibility to change any details about the lease too, in terms of, renewing it or that kind of thing. I'm saying they're not legally binded to each other for the lease.
Correct. They're not
Okay.
legally bounded to each other as they get to the end. Their leases are both coming to an end about similar times.
Right.
Which was kind of purposeful, and
Yep.
so we will address that as we get there.
Thank you.
And for those that may be concerned that Alexandra House is downsizing, they're actually not. They're building their own space or buying their own space larger, increasing their footprint, but wanted to be owners rather than tenants. And for that reason, they're still providing all the necessary services that they do, and they're not downsizing in Anoka County. Yep. Commissioner or Trustee Gamache.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So, Corey, when you mentioned that Hicken, Scott are moving down from the 3rd floor, and then we've got somebody that's going to expand into the 3rd floor or take more space, so we will be full.
Yes, the only spaces that are not are the garden terrace, kind of that basement spaces. We've got 2 down there that one was vacated by an attorney in August. And we've held on to that because we do have to work with elections because we have some storage and with human services around storage. So we are not leasing those spaces at this point until we get that all figured out on where some of the county needs are.
Okay,
around
thank
that.
you.
So.
Further discussion? Seeing none, this is a roll call vote.
Trustee Look.
Aye.
Trustee Brasted.
Aye.
Trustee West.
Aye.
Trustee Schulte.
Aye.
Trustee Meisner.
Aye.
Trustee Gamache.
Aye.
Trustee Reiner.
Aye.
That item passes. That brings us to item 6 on your agenda, where will consider authorizing the HRA Board Chair and Executive Director to execute an acknowledgement of receptivity of a Metropolitan Council LCA funding award to serve as a pass-through for Twin Cities Habitat for Humanity Local Housing Initiatives account funds. The local match would be previously awarded Plan Year 2022 home funds that would be used for the rehabilitation of 2 houses in Anoka County. Karen, this is going to take a 1-minute explanation for us, please.
Mr. Chair, trustees, I'm happy to provide that. This is an unusual request. Usually, the cities work directly with the Met Council on livable communities funding, or a developer does. But in this case, this is a new demonstration program. We have already awarded Habitat some home funds, and it would make sense that they use that funding that we're awarding them as the match and try to secure some additional funds from the Met Council. Because we have awarded the funds, the Met Council needs us to be the fiduciary and receive the grant and then pay it out once the work is done. Dakota County recently did something along this line with Habitat, so we know it can be done. All we're doing here is saying we will agree to be receptive to the idea. Habitat has not yet submitted an application for funding, but they need to include the certificate saying that we've talked about it and that we'd be receptive.
Thank you. Is there a motion to be receptive?
So moved.
I have a motion by trustee Meisner. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by trustee Look. Is there further discussion? Trustee Meisner.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So then I assume then we would be talking about this again if they were formally asking.
Mr. Chair, trustee Meisner, I believe that is
Okay.
how it would be. Likely there would be a formal contract that would come, and we would bring that back to our board for final approval.
Perfect, thank you.
Mr. Chair,
Trustee Gamache.
just some clarification then, Karen. Usually this works through the cities, and so how is this going to work through the cities? I'm assuming the properties are there and the cities make the agreement, and then Habitat for Humanity has to come to us for money to get whatever agreement taken care of.
Trustee Gamache, that is an excellent question. In the agreement, there will be a clause saying that the homes have to be located in cities that participate in the Livable Communities program. I know we've got some cities that do, some that don't. So there will be a narrowed field of where Habitat can place these homes. I believe they plan to buy existing homes and rehab them. So because it's in a community that's already participating, this will increase their housing goals, but they won't have to do a contract to receive those funds because we will actually be the contract holder.
Okay, thank you.
Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? That item passes, and that concludes our HRA meeting. We are adjourned.